during this weekend. Just a personal story and a lot of learning in that as well. One of my aunt was been traveling to, she's an aged one, and she was been very much fearful of flying. She had to go to Canada. It's a long flight of 14-15 hours, and she was very much worrisome. And once we have been going to the airport, I found a lot more worries on her face. And then I asked a question. I said, "Aunt, what's happening? Everything is all right?" And she said, "Kamran, I'm being really very much worried about the longer flight because I've never experienced that before. And this is the journey which I have to take, and I don't know how I'm going to manage it." Now, I have told you something very interesting, which I'm going to re-emphasize once again. Please remember that thing and write it down somewhere. Game. This is called, I'm going to write it down. It is called our focus. This is the name of the game, the focus. What the focus is all about, the focus say that wherever our focus goes, our energy flows towards that. So in any sort of events, in any sort of circumstances, we have to check within ourselves where my focus is going right now. So I realized the focus of my aunt at that moment is about that fear aspect of a longer hours of that flight which she had to come across, and she's been worried about that how I'm going to do it, and might be because in that this is a plane and there would be a turbulence and sort of stuff. So her focus was been onto it. So I thought this is the right time where I can shift her focus towards something, and then I can experiment with that. So what I asked her, and that is a very interesting thing I'm going to share with you, that if any one of you are been having the similar feeling, or someone around you in your family, friends who have the similar sort of fear of flying, you can share this tactics with them, and I can guarantee you 100% of the time they will be, inshallah, absolved of any such fear. So what I said, I observed that her focus is towards that fear of flying. So what I asked her at that time, when we reached to the airport, I just asked my aunt, I said, "Aunt, while we are having a time, so let's just go to the board where there is a departure and the arrival of the flights are being announced, and we will see how many, is there any other flights are going to Canada or somewhere else." So she accompanied me willingly. She said, "All right, that's interesting, let's go over there." So when we have gone to the departure and the arrival, you might have seen that they had a longer schedule of lot many flights details which are been coming over there. All right, so you might have seen that they have been giving at 8:40, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, that flight is going to there, that flight is going there, etc. So while my aunt was looking into that, I asked my aunt, I said, "Aunt, have you seen how many number of flights are been going today?" She said, "Yes, absolutely, these are dozens of them." And I said, "This is just been in a shorter chunk of time, which is just 4 hours. And imagine in 24 hours, how many number of flights they are going to fly today." And she calculated, she said, "Yes, Kamran, there's a lot number of flights, that might be hundreds of them." I said, "Absolutely right. Now, aunt, if there are, for example, 100 flights are going to fly from this airport, and then multiply with almost 500 airports around the world, and if you see that on an average, how many number of flights that took a flight on every day, and they've been landed back on every day, surely there are hundreds and thousands of it." Yeah, she said, "Yes, absolutely." And then I said, "Aunt, that specific flight which you are going to take for Canada, that was been, if you see the schedule, every day it has a flight, every day. So every day it has been going over the last 1 month, over the last few months, and inshallah, it was a safer landing and safer coming back." Now, when I was giving her that focus, I found there's a little bit of her thinking horizon was been expanding, and she was little bit calm, a little bit of surprise as well, that this is a sort of a new information for her. And then this is said, "Yes, Kamran, this is absolutely right." Then I said, "Inshallah, everything will go right because of in a flight safety. If you see, there are hundreds and thousands of the flights which fly, but when you see into the accident or incident records, they are very minimal. You see that in once in a blue moon it happened." Now, that is one focus, shift in the focus I have done on that. Now the second focus, what she was being worried for, she was being worried about the time of the flight. And she was been focusing on that, and she was saying, oh, that is going to be a 14 hours flight. How I'm going to do that? And you might have observed that whenever we go into the longer hours of the flight, what is the one thing which normally people they do? They open up a flight tracker and they started counting in, because this is open into that. So every time they look into that, it look like there is still 13 hours and 30 minutes to the destination. Then they do some stuff, then they come back again and they feel surprised there is still 13 hours is been to the flight. Then they do something, then they come back again, then they say 12 hours and 40 minutes to the flight. Then they look around and they say 12 hours to the 30 minutes. Now, how many number of time they look into that trajectory? Maybe 100 number of times. So what is the message their mind is giving them? Oh, it's a long flight and I'm not going to catch up with anything. So I asked her, to my aunt, one thing. I said, Aunt, the second thing you have to do, when you will go inside the plane, please do that you are not supposed to look into, open up the flight charter in front of you, the timeline, that how many hours it has been there. And she said, then Kamran, if this is not I'm going to do, what I'm going to do? I said, whatsoever you want to do, whatsoever, whether you would like to go for movies or you would like to sleep around, but one thing for sure, you should not look into that. And if incidentally you require, okay, once or twice somewhere in the journey, I would not mind that, but you will not follow that pattern. Now what happened? Once she reached over there and she given me a call and she was so happy and she was so excited. She said, Kamran, both of these things have worked very well for myself, because whenever I was being in the flight, I was being out of that loop and I was feel happy, and I feel like that my journey has been shortened because I was not looking into that part. And second aspect was that since the time I was looking into some of the turbulence or sort of stuff came into the way, and this example worked very well for myself.